Hey Travel Channel fans, this is Paul. I'm on the digital team at Travel Channel, and I'm here today at Sweetwater Creek State Park. It's about 20 minutes west of Atlanta, from downtown Atlanta. If you guys know where Six Flags Park is, it's just past Six Flags Park if you're going west. As you can see, it's an amazingly beautiful place. There's a lake for paddling. There's 12 miles of hiking and running trails. There's also really cool old mill that was burned during the Civil War. You can visit the ruins, but we're here today to take a tour of their the newest feature at the park. That would be these yurts, a yurt village. It's been around about a year.
Yes, sir. It's been here about a year now.
This is David Jordan. He's the park manager, and he's very kind enough to join us today and give us a tour of the yurts.
I'm glad you guys decided to come out.
Yeah, thanks for being out here. So we're going to just go in and we'll kind of describe the yurt, and we'll show you the really cool space. I love that this yurt and some of the other yurts I've seen are placed near such a beautiful land feature, like a lake or a cliff or things like that. I imagine that was obviously clearly done for a reason. It's such a beautiful spot for your families to get back and enjoy.
It was very strategically placed to give people one of the best aspects they can of the environment, to kind of bring a little bit of nature home to them. And we kind of consider that glamping as opposed to just sleeping on the ground in a tent. So they got a little bit more comfort by staying inside of a yurt.
But they still get the experience of hearing the rain on the roof.
Right.
I imagine it's beautiful. I stayed at a yurt a couple years ago with my daughter. We went with a group of families and we just descended upon this yurt village at Cloudland Canyon State Park, a few hours north of here. And ever since then, as people who work with me know, I've just been in love with yurts. So I thought we'd come out and encourage more love of the yurt. So let's go ahead and go on inside, and you can describe what they are made of and what people can expect. So how many folks generally can stay in a yurt like this?
The yurt will sleep up to 6 people very comfortably. We have a full-size bed that's located on the top bunk, and the bottom bunk folds out into a futon that'll sleep 2 people, as well as a sofa that'll sleep 2 people.
Now, one of the reasons I thought it'd be great to show a yurt is that since we stayed in at the yurt, it seems like they've been popping up at state parks across the country, and I've seen them being built in national parks across the country. So I think if you're out there thinking about a place to stay, you maybe don't want a tent, don't want a cabin, a yurt might be a really cool option for you to think about.
Yes, sir. One of our previous state park directors with the Department of Natural Resources, State Parks, Historic Sites, they visited a directors conference out in Oregon and saw this wonderful idea to kind of merge a little bit of the environment, consider glamping, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, with the idea of having a yurt. So back since about 1996, we've actually got 6 Georgia state parks that has a yurt village.
That's really cool, and I've seen them in Maine. I was out in the backcountry some years ago in Maine. The first time I saw you, I thought this was the coolest place to stay. So one of the things that strikes me right away, of course, is the lattice walls, and this would be reminiscent of the ancient yurts because they've been around for thousands of years.
That's correct. The ancient yurts that the Mongolians had back on the tundra, and back then they were actually much smaller because they had to be made portable, where they can take it from one location to another. And at that time, they were made of either fur or felt.
But these are made out of pine?
These are actually made out of wood, lattice. Okay. There's also canvas here, as well as a center wooden ring up here at the top with a plexiglass dome that you can open up and bring a little yurt in with it.
And I imagine
a little area with a fan.
Yeah, I imagine it sounds great at night if it starts to rain.
It does.
Loud. You might not be able to sleep, but
yes,
really nice. And you can, like you say, you can raise and lower it. And that's a pretty typical feature, I would think, for all the yurts. At least the ones I've been in, you can see the smell.
We have a screen door on the front and the back, so the guests can always bring a small box fan with them to draw a little air in there, because it does get a little bit warm. If they want to come in the wintertime, we have a small heater over here as well. They'll want to bring some additional blankets and things to kind of stay warm, and of course they could build a fire outside as well. And
the furniture, really neat. It's obviously very rustic. I mean, it looks like someone just went out, cut down a tree, and made stools out of it. That's clearly to add to the whole rustic sort of camping feel.
It is, yes, sir. That's correct.
But who could be without a gaming table? And you here at the park, you can go and rent games and
you can. You can come up to our park office and you can check out some of the board games that we have. So if you do catch a day where you want a little bit of a break from the heat, or a little bit of a break from the cold, or even maybe a little bit from a thunder shower that pops up, you can come in here and play a few board games, kind of kick back and relax and enjoy the peaceful view of the lake.
And ceiling fan, electricity, that's again a pretty typical feature, electricity for yurts across state parks.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
I mean,
and here we have 10 yurts. Yes.
Okay, 10 yurts here, and there's 6 state parks in Georgia?
6 Georgia state parks with them since '96. When we built the first one at Red Top.
Well, I mean, it's just beautiful. And this fabric, it's obviously very thick, but you still get that tent sort of feel.
That's correct.
But with a little more shelter from.
It's thick canvas, and it's actually got the windows that you can take and let down, as well as, you know, to go ahead and close those and seal those up. But the canvas, it does hold up very well, but it does have a peaceful sound when it rains at night.
Yeah, peaceful. Loud but peaceful, right?
Loud but peaceful.
All right, let's go on outside. And so I'm just thinking a family of 4, which I have, be a perfect place to, you can sleep comfortably, you can hang out, enjoy the lake. And this is what, how big is this lake?
This lake is a little over 250 acres.
And again, the ones that I've seen are usually positioned somewhere next to a beautiful lake.
They are. This one is a reservoir. The only thing you can't do in our lake is swim here. We do allow a little bit of swimming and wading in our creek that is located just off of our red trail. It also takes you down to the mill. We do rent kayaks and canoes here, as well as aquacycles and other pedal boats. But it's a great time to just come out here and really just relax with your family, maybe have a picnic over here and do a little bit of fishing from this dock here.
And, you know, as I was relating my story earlier with my family, we had, I don't know how many are in Cloudland Canyon, but there were quite a few yurts.
Yes.
It was a really neat way to get a group of friends together and just, you could just pile all the kids in the yurt. And as we'll show you as we walk through and kind of pan around the campground, there's a playground right across the parking lot, and there's bathrooms. There's no bathrooms in the yurt.
That's right. There's no bathrooms and no cooking inside of the yurt, but it's a very short distance, as the viewers will get to see in a few moments. It's a very short distance over to the restrooms. We also have a great picnic shelter up here that the guests are welcome to use as well. And what we've noticed recently, Paul, is that a lot of family reunions have actually been booking several of the yurts as well as some of the tent sites to bring their family here and get the whole group together at one time, like you were mentioning.
And we can pan over here and see how many, there's a picnic site here. You can actually cook your dinner right there.
Yes, sir, you could.
Now, can you fish on the lake too?
You can. You can fish on the lake. If you're 16 and older, you'll need a Georgia fishing license. That's all.
So you could cook dinner right there.
That's right.
That'd be great.
Catch your dinner, bring it up here, clean it, and cook it.
That's definitely on my list of things to do.
And we have a water faucet out here as well. It's a drinking water capable.
And how many of these picnic spots are there in the yurt village? That's what we're calling
There's
it, right?
one for each yurt.
Okay, so one
each
for
yurt has
each
one. Yes, sir.
That's a really quick walk.
Yes, sir.
The little one gets sleepy at night. She's a few minutes away or a few seconds away.
That's right. Come sit here and build you a little campfire.
Cool. Okay. Why don't we walk back through and we can maybe hit a few more of the highlights. Thank you. So how many does it yurt typically, and I'm thinking these are fairly typical in size to the yurts across the state parks.
These are fairly typical in size. The ones of our state parks, that's where they sleep, is they sleep up to 6 people. About the only thing you can't bring with you to the yurt is you can't bring any pets with you. But again, if you're from the Atlanta area or anywhere real close, we're just a few miles from downtown Atlanta, so they can always go back and check on their pet family member that they left at home. But a lot of the adults do like to get up here on the top bunk because this is actually a full-size mattress. You'll need to bring your own linens and pillows and things with you as well. And like I say, the futon's pretty comfortable as well, but I noticed that most of the adults, they will put the kids down at the bottom and they'll climb up to the top.
And what do people tend to bring with them to your cooler? Because there's no refrigerator here, but a cooler. What can they bring?
Yes, sir. They'll bring a cooler, and we also sell ice as well. Or there's a lot of convenience stores that's close by as well. They bring things like paper plates, utensils, anything they want to fish with, anything they want to recreate with that we may or may not have. But I think one of the most important things is, again, to bring your linens and blankets and things like that in the wintertime. Just have a little bit of additional stuff.
And that's typical, again, across state parks in Georgia and probably elsewhere, too.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, great.
And like I say, you can bring your ice chest in here, and it was, a little bit of ice, and it'll stay cool, and you can move it out here on the back.
Cool, and you've obviously got electricity, so there's plenty of light. And like you said earlier, the heater, it's positioned so that it stays pretty cool in here.
It is. It's very centralized the way this is, so it stays fairly cool in here. And like I said earlier, you could always bring a box fan and put in here to draw a little bit of air through the yurt. And also, they won't have to worry about their keeping up with a key in their pocket. All they have to do is worry about keeping up with a code. We issue a code to this door. We also have a 24-hour electronic gate. As they come into the yurt village, we issue a code to them as well. So we also try to keep our guests as secure and safe as we possibly can.
Now, again, the last walls are so striking, as are the beams here, the exposed beams. It's the first thing my daughter saw when she walked in. She thought she was in like a little fort, like something she would make, but obviously a lot sturdier. It's really, really, really cool. And the way it's positioned in the woods, you're sleeping in the woods, but again, not in a tent. where you're truly exposed to everything. You get a little best of both worlds. You're not in a cabin that's so insulated, but you're of course not in a tent where you might get wet at night, and probably will get wet at night.
Exactly, that's right. And like you were mentioning too, some people that don't want to sleep on the ground, or maybe don't want to think about a critter crawling across the ground when they go to sleep at night. You know, they want to feel a little bit more off the ground. That's why we really suggest them to reserve one of our yurts.
Now, I was going to get to that for sure. As we were talking before, they're fairly popular now. What's a good range, or how far ahead should you think about making reservations if you're going to?
I would definitely look up to 13 months in advance to make sure you were able to secure the date that you were looking for.
Right. And they're usually booked at how far out in advance? A couple months?
Yes, usually a couple months. Right. Unless, yes, we're planning a big reunion or possibly a wedding. We've had a few wedding parties.
Oh, that's
come
cool.
in here and rent several yurts at a time and have a wedding over at a cruise ship.
That's a great theme, yeah, for a wedding. That'd be really cool, especially in the fall. I would imagine in the fall. Now, these have been a year? You've had
coming up on a year.
Okay.
Next month, yes.
What are the peak months? I would think fall and...
I think the peak months are generally right after school's out, Memorial Day, as well as the fall that we're getting ready to move into, because we have a beautiful change of color of the leaves here at Sweetwater Creek.
And again, you're sitting right in the middle of the trees.
Exactly.
So many hardwoods, it'd be beautiful. Well, I wanted to quickly pan around and just show how the yurt is positioned with some of the other yurts. And the bathrooms are right up the hill, and there is a playground right on the other side of that next door neighbor yurt. So it really is positioned and built to be a great spot for families and groups to come in.
It is. It really makes it very inviting for families. And like you were mentioning, you know, it's a great opportunity to get outdoors.
Yeah.
With your whole family.
Well, great. And this deck is really, really big. I imagine there's plenty of room for hanging out, and there's outside lighting as well.
That's correct. We have this outside lighting as well right here that the guests can either turn on or turn off depending on how they decide they want to sleep at night.
Well, my dream is to have a yurt on a lake property someday. I think that would be just absolutely fantastic. Maybe one with a kitchen or a bathroom. But anyway, I think this is so great. So I think that's about it. I really, really appreciate your time today, and hopefully those who are watching from wherever you're watching enjoy the yurts and might want to check one out, and maybe you'll like them as much as I do. So that's about it. Thank you.
Have a great. Thank you.